This is why we travel.
Yeah, this is unreal. Good morning from Kalabaka, which is the Greek town where we dropped the pin on the map blindfolded.
The big thing to do here is climbing up those massive rocks behind us that overlook the village and seeing some of the monasteries up there. So that's what we're going to do. We left our guest house at 7:30 this morning because the owner of the place we're staying reckons it will take about 4 hours to do a circuit of all the monasteries. But with seeing the monasteries and filming, we think it will take us a lot longer. Sunset's at 5, so nice early hike.
The trail starts at the edge of Kalabaka. It's really easy to find because of all the signs. It's also on Google Maps, which we put a link in the description to.
I'm really glad we got up as early as we did, even though it's -1 degrees, because the sunrise is absolutely gorgeous.
We've come to the end of the trail. It took us just over an hour, but you can probably do it in a little bit less than that if you're not filming like we are. And now we're heading to our first monastery. Please be open, please be open, please be open. Oh dear. So the first monastery seems to be closed. Ah. Is it?
Yeah?
We've hit a bit of a snag.
What?
This one's closed.
Ah. It turns out that this monastery doesn't actually open till 10, which is in about 45 minutes. There's another monastery just around the corner which opens at 9:30. So we're gonna sit here and have some breakfast and then head over there.
We're walking up the road to the second monastery, and the first one, which was closed, is starting to come into view, and it looks incredible. Hi.
Hi. This is why we travel.
Yeah, this is unreal. What we've essentially arrived at is a viewing platform which is just off to one of the main roads here. There also seems to be some sort of gondola which takes people from this viewing platform over to the first monastery that we arrived at, which was closed. It's very small and it's moving by itself. Maybe there's ghosts.
The views keep getting better and better. I literally can't stop taking pictures and videos. But I think we're going to have to get a move on, otherwise we're not going to reach the monastery. And there are 5 to see. We're not going in all of them. Maybe 2? 2?
2? Yeah, 2 sounds good. The thing that's really blowing my mind more than anything else is the fact that on one side of this viewpoint there's the monasteries and like the bare rock, whereas on the other side is easily some of the most beautiful snow-capped mountains I have ever seen. One thing that I will point out that I'm quite thankful for is it's a lot less windy today than it was yesterday. I don't know if we have enough layers in our bags to deal with how windy it would have been.
Gives me hope for Hungary, which is where we're going next, and it's going to be in the minuses.
The minuses.
Minuses.
It's going to be cold.
We've finally arrived at the next monastery. It's called the Monastery of St. Stephen, and since it's open, we're going to head inside. Just a tip though, when you go into Greek monasteries, you need to make sure your shoulders and your legs are completely covered if you're a woman, and for men, you need to make sure your shoulders and your knees are covered. And your thighs, not just your kneecaps.
Shoulder, thigh, kneecap. I think we're good.
So, it turns out that women have to wear skirts inside the monastery. Luckily, they had a few hanging up for people to borrow. First we explored the inside courtyard, then headed outside for the views.
The monks originally inhabited caves in the gigantic rocks. Although people have lived there for the last 50,000 years, the monks didn't arrive until the 11th century. 300 years later, they managed to climb the rocks using ropes and ladders. It was a spiritual place for them, so they began building the monasteries we see today.
Of course, I'm getting a coffee. I tried to buy Dale one, but he doesn't want one. Mental stuff.
Izzy seems to have come across a remote path that she's making me go down. Oh, also, I got jealous of Izzy's coffee, so I got one as well. Ugh.
This is not a bad spot for lunch. Oh.
We're up on this ridge where we stopped to have lunch, and I've been lying on this rock for about 15 or 20 minutes now. Izzy's gone over to one of the other cliffs and we're trying to get a photo of her. Problem is, there's a lot of people that are all trying to do exactly the same thing. This is a real insight into one of the realities of doing what we do. As much as you guys tend to see the finished edited product of like the prettiest shots that we've got, the edited stuff, lying on a rock in the freezing cold wind for about 15-20 minutes in order to get that is usually a massive part of it. Just thought I'd give you a little insight. We'll call it Thoughts with Dale. It's also gotten quite cold and windy, which means I've had to put my hat on. So I just look like I've got one really big monobrow.
We spent so long in the first monastery and having lunch that it's now already well into the afternoon. This means that we need to get a move on if we want to see inside another monastery before dark. We've made it round to the other monasteries and this big one here is closed, so we think we can go to this one up here. Of course, it's got to be the one that's furthest away that's open.
We've made it to our final monastery, which is the monastery of Varlam, so we're going to take a look inside. We have been really lucky today that wherever we seem to have gone, there doesn't seem to have been many people. It really has been super quiet and peaceful. This monastery, there is quite a lot of other tourists here, but it's still incredible.
We arrived at the monastery literally 2 minutes before closing time, so they wouldn't let us in. It was super close, but guess it is what it is. All the monasteries are closing now because it's gone 4 o'clock, so we're going to head home for the day.
Is it my foot? Whenever we do these sort of hikes, at some point or another, we always seem to end up with some sort of mascot. This time around, it's a cat. Hi. I've named him Bugsy.
The not so glamorous side of travel. This is how they get rid of their wastewater at the monastery. It comes out of a pipe and down onto our heads.
In you go.
No.